Good evening, everybody. I think we're going to have, it's going to take a couple minutes for everyone to be invited into the Zoom, but welcome. We are really excited to have you here. We are expecting over 300 participants, so we're really excited about the numbers. My name is Carlos Cruz. I'm a proud graduate of the class of 1988. Excuse the non-Columbia related background, but I do have these almost Columbia Blue headphones. They're not exactly Pantone 292, but they're very close. I'll have to talk to Apple about that. Please update your name, your Zoom with your name and your school and your graduation year, sort of mirroring what I have, if you'd like. It'd be easy to speak to each other that way when we go on to into breakout rooms. And then one courtesy, please, is that please remember to mute yourselves when you're not speaking. I want to give everybody a general outline of the meeting so we understand how everything's going to flow. We are very lucky to have Deans Valentini, Boyce, Rosen, Mitch, and Greenwich with us tonight. They will address the audience for about 20 minutes based on some questions that the steering committee for this event put together. And at this point, I'd like to thank Ying Yang, CC95, and Riley Jones, CC17, who are the other members of the steering committee, for their contributions, not only for this event, but all the volunteers they do for Columbia. One last thing I'd like to do before I start introducing the deans. We have a very special group of people with us tonight, I hope. I'd like to raise a glass for the class of 2021. Regardless of the schools that you graduated, I know it was a very tumultuous, unprecedented year, but congratulations. And I want to take this opportunity to welcome you to the alumni community. So without further ado, I am going to introduce Dean Valentini. Dean Valentini has served as Dean of Columbia College and Vice President for Undergraduate Education since September 2011. Affectionately known as Dean Tini by Columbia undergraduates, he has been a member of Columbia's faculty since 1990. Under his leadership, Columbia College has developed a multi-year strategic plan and launched a $750 million core to commencement campaign, the first campaign devoted exclusively to Columbia College and its faculty. The college has also initiated the Presidential Global Fellowship, offering a funded summer study abroad experience to rising sophomores, and expanded its commitment to entrepreneurship, joining the Columbia Startup Lab and sponsoring the Columbia Venture Competition's Undergraduate Challenge. As the Chief Academic and Executive Officer of the college, Dean Valentini's central focus is to support and develop the college so that students and faculty have the greatest possible experience. The Dean oversees the college curriculum, which includes the core course, as well as the academic and programmatic services and policies that contribute to the undergraduate experience beyond the classroom. He frequently attends campus events and hosts meals with students to discuss their undergraduate experience. Before becoming Dean, Dean Valentini served as chair of the chemistry department and director of the chemistry department's undergraduate studies program. He also served on numerous college and university committees focused on curriculum matters, undergraduate affairs, alumni relations, and faculty governance, diversity and tenure, and was instrumental in creating the Science Research Fellows program. Prior to arriving at Columbia, Dean Valentini was a member of the research staff at Los Alamos National Laboratory and a professor of chemistry at the University of California, Irvine. He is a fellow in the American Physical Society and the American Association for the Advancement of Science. Dean Valentini earned his BS in chemistry from the University of Pittsburgh, his MS in chemistry from the University of Chicago, and his PhD in chemistry from the University of California, Berkeley, and completed postdoctoral work at Harvard. Welcome, Dean Valentini.
Thank you, Carlos. I think one thing you could gather from that bio is that I had a hard time staying in one place until I got to Columbia. And there's lots of reasons to be here. Thank you for the introduction, thank you for that good faith effort to have something Pantone 292, and those headphones are pretty close, actually. And welcome to all our reunion attendees. I can't see you, but I'd like to say I feel your presence. And I hope that you have been having a rewarding reunion, even if it has to be in this virtual format, which I hope is the last time we do a virtual format like this. And I hope to see all of you in person next year at this time. So several questions were posed to us. Obviously want to address those. Fundamentally, what do we do in Columbia College? We educate students. And so all the things that we do in answer to the questions that have been posed to us involve how do we educate students in the best way possible to support all of our students and to address those issues that are most important to us, that are current, that are contemporary. Racism, bias, justice, rights and responsibilities, obligations are all crucial to our engagement with students, educating our students. The core is central to that effort. The core curriculum is something required of every student in Columbia College. And there's a particular part of the core that is central to considerations of our relationships with one another, justice, rights, responsibilities, and that's contemporary civilization. Contemporary civilization, by its name, contemporary, attempts to and does succeed, I believe, in remaining contemporary. This past year, in response to the tragic events we observed in our country, incorporated a unit specifically on race and justice, a new unit, a new part of the contemporary civilization curriculum. But not only it was not only contemporary civilization that was responding, it was also other parts of the core. Music humanities, arts humanities, literature humanities also did. Also, art humanities in particular had a complete curriculum revision, the first since the time of its inception. It now incorporates a much broader range, a diversity of artists than it has in the past. Literature humanities has included components of the syllabus that directly address issues raised in Black Lives Matter, as has music humanities. I also convened this year a special committee. We call it the Committee for the Second Century of the Core. This is a committee of 14 people, alumni and students, 8 alumni, 6 students, almost all alumni and students of color. And we posed questions about the experience of students of color in the core curriculum. And we met for this past year, and a report produced. It's not just a report, but a set of recommendations that will be carried to the chairs of the core curriculum. There will be a discussion of the members of the Second Century Committee with the members of with the chairs of the core curriculum about what are the ways in which we might ensure that, at least in part for certain students, that the core is successful for them. The core is something required of all students. If we require it of all students, then it should be successful for all students. It should be successful for them, irrespective of their identity, their perspectives. We wanted to have this year a particular emphasis on students of color in the core and the ways in which we can make the core more successful for students of color. We also educate students explicitly in their relationships to one another and considerations of identity, bias, judgments through the Office of Multicultural Affairs, which offers required training for all students at the beginning of orientation, called Under One Roof, but it also provides support for students throughout the academic year, and in fact engages with the entire university to ensure that all students are treated fairly and and are felt that they belong, that they are engaged, that they are welcome, and that the experiences that we provide are indeed for them, and that they find those experiences successful. Individually, I talk to students relentlessly about a concept called beginner's mind, which many of you may have heard. It's a Zen Buddhist concept called Shoshin. It's a quote from a book by Shunryu Suzuki called Zen. The book is called Zen Mind, Beginner's Mind, in which it says, in the beginner's mind, there are many possibilities. In the expert's mind, there are few. I use this in particular in talking to students about their interactions with one another, to approach one another without preconceptions, without senses of prejudgments, without ideas about what another student must be like, but to engage them openly, fairly, responsibly, uh, and through a kind of interaction that benefits both of the students involved in that interaction. We also have efforts to engage our students in carrying the messages of contemporary civilization and the core more broadly into actual action in society. There's a particular role for that through the Eric H. Holder Jr. Initiative for Civil and Political Rights. Almost 6 years ago, Eric Holder and I sat down in my office and we talked about how to do this. Eric had said to me that the contemporary civilization was the most important course he had taken at Columbia, and he wanted to do something, have his name attached to something in which we build on the lessons of contemporary civilization to activate students to be engaged in true contemporary life at promoting justice, promoting civil and political rights. And from that, we created the Eric H. Holder Initiative for Civil and Political Rights, which gives students opportunities to be active in addressing the challenges that our country faces in areas that involve race and justice, among other areas, broadly in civil and political rights. For more than half a century, the college also has had the Roger Laheka Double Discovery Center, which has engaged our students, our undergraduate students, in helping to promote the success of students in Washington Heights and our Harlem communities that are around our university, and to convey to them a sense of obligation to be participants in making the world a safer, more just world with opportunities for all, and in the process of doing that, themselves grow and have a better understanding of others. These are the actions that the college has taken and will continue to take in our efforts to ensure that our students are prepared. Not only is our college a place in which diversity, equity, and inclusion are values, as they indeed are, but also that we prepare students for a world in which they will promote the ideas of diversity, equity, and inclusion in practice, in their lives, in their families, in their communities, in their places of employment. That is an important goal that the college has. Carlos, thank you very much for the opportunity.
Thank you, Dean Valentini, for those remarks and for giving us some texture as to how the college is addressing what has been happening in the past couple of years and frankly, for many, many years in society. We are going to move on to Dean Boyce. For those of you who don't know, Dean Boyce is the Dean of the School of Engineering and Applied Science. Dean Boyce is the Foundation School of Engineering and Applied Science and Morris A. and Alma Shapiro Professor. She leads the Education and Research Division of Columbia Engineering with more than 200 faculty, 1,700 undergraduate students, and 2,700 graduate students. With her commitment to celebrating and facilitating the creativity and innovation of students and faculty, she has significantly expanded entrepreneurship and design programming outreach funding for faculty and student research and ventures, and has overseen a robust program of renovations and upgrades to spaces, including renovation of research laboratories, undergraduate teaching laboratories, and creation of the makerspace. A strong advocate of interdisciplinary research and translation of innovation to impact, she has increased faculty in cross-cutting fields and launched an inspiring new vision for the school, Columbia Engineering for Humanity. Dean Boyce's research focuses on non-linear mechanics of soft materials. She has been widely recognized for her scholarly achievements, including election as a Fellow of the American Society of Mechanical Engineers, the American Academy of Arts and Sciences, and the National Academy of Engineering. Most recently, Dean Boyce has been recognized with the ASME 2020 Timoshenko Medal, considered the highest scholarly recognition in the field of applied mathematics. And I'm grateful that there was nothing very technical in the above 3 paragraphs because I squeaked by the college with anthropology as a science department. So thank you. She earned her BS degree in engineering science and mechanics from Virginia Tech and her MS and PhD degrees in mechanical engineering from MIT. And I would like to add that in December, Dean Boyce, it was announced that she will be the first female provost in Columbia's history, beginning in July. So congratulations.
Okay. Thank you, Carlos. And good evening, everyone. So I'm joining you from my Columbia apartment. So you may hear like motorcycles, buses, and other things going by because I have the windows open. So apologies for the, but maybe it'll make you feel like you're actually here in New York City with us. So I'm honored to join everyone tonight. And, you know, I echo Jim's comment that we hope to see everyone in person. Face-to-face gatherings are so important for our community, for building our community, our relationships with one another. So we do hope to be done with this virtual environment. At the same time, the virtual environment has enabled us to gather across the world in ways that we have not been able to do so before. So, as you know, this last year, the year of the pandemic or the pandemics, brought many challenges to our school and our community. But I think it also brought our students, our faculty, and staff together as a really positive community to confront the challenges of the past year. And these also include those around social justice and bias, and really, I'd say, reawakened the fact that as a STEM field, engineering and applied science needs to really come together and work collectively to create and support a more diverse, equitable, and inclusive environment. So this is particularly for our students and faculty from historically underrepresented backgrounds, and for our whole community to really come together on this critical issue. So I do want to talk about a few things that we've been doing. So in STEM fields, even women are still underrepresented. So I do want to say some positive things. We've made great strides in gender diversity. We've achieved 50% women in our first-year classes for multiple years in a row. We have increases in the percentage of our women in our graduate programs, both our master's and our PhD programs. We've doubled the number of women faculty over the last several years, and also doubled the number of tenured women faculty. And we maintain a focus and efforts around attracting this top talent to Columbia. Now, we do aspire to further enhance our racial and ethnic diversity in attracting this top talent to Columbia. We've been pleased to have success in recruiting students from historically underrepresented backgrounds to our undergraduate student body. As an engineering school with over 30% students coming from historically underrepresented minority backgrounds, and we also have over 75% of our students are of color. And I also would like to point out that we have a 95% graduation rate, which in engineering That's a pretty unusual period. I also want to acknowledge that we continue to have challenges in racial and ethnic diversity in our graduate student body and our faculty body. And I want to talk about some of the actions underway, because this is important for our undergraduate students, our staff, our faculty, our entire student body, and entire Columbia community. So as a CEAS community, we've come together to identify our challenges in diversity, equity, inclusion. We use the acronym DEI, and specific actions to be taken. We have a commission on diversity, equity, inclusion, which has taken a deep dive into our current practices across the board, students, faculty, and staff, and identify what are our current offerings, what are we doing right now, what are we doing well right now, and what are our gaps, our challenges, and the opportunities for improvement. The commission was led by Professor Shifu Chang, who's our Senior Executive Vice Dean, but he's also our incoming Interim Dean of Engineering, and also by Professor Helen Liu from Biomedical Engineering, and she's chair of our Faculty Promotion, Tenure, and Advancement. Our members of the committee were drawn from faculty across every department, and students as well as members of our Board of Visitors served on the committee, and also staff members from across the school. We also held facilitated anti-Black racism workshops across all of our departments to raise awareness and bring us together as a community to really acknowledge that as one community that we need to confront creating an environment that's more welcoming and expansive in welcoming diverse members into our community. So the commission just issued a report, and I want to go over some of the key things that we've identified. There are 4 priority areas articulated for us to really focus on over the coming years. Expanding the diversity of our graduate student body and of our faculty. So that's 1 and 2. Enhancing the culture of inclusiveness and advancement across departments and the school and beyond. And by beyond, I mean in our engineering community, period. And in integrating diversity, equity, and inclusion into our mission of research, education, and innovation. We're in a unique position because we have an undergraduate, graduate, faculty, research all combined to actually integrate elements in all that we do. And the commission also developed definitive action plans, much as Jim articulated, having specific action, recommendation and action plans around these issues. For the short term, what can we do more immediately, and for the long term. So I want to just mention the reports available. We also have a website that everyone can go to, but I'll want to mention a few specific items, action items, to give you an idea of what we mean by an action item. So when we look at diversifying our graduate student body, we've strengthened and amplified our relationships with historically Black colleges and universities, as well as minority serving institutions. Note that this provides collaborative research, but this is also facilitates attracting students from historically underrepresented backgrounds to our graduate programs. This summer, we inaugurated a Columbia Amazon SURE program, a summer undergraduate research experience here at Columbia, where college juniors will experience a summer in our research labs, in our dorms, and also receive mentorship and training. This exposes these students to the greatness of Columbia, the excitement of research here, and our incredible community. So this is also a way to recruit these students, this great talent, to Columbia's graduate programs. We also have a bridge, what we call the Bridge to PhD program, which supports students from underrepresented backgrounds who are interested in considering a PhD in engineering, but may come from a different quantitative background. So these students are embedded in our labs for a couple of years, taking courses and being mentored by our faculty to prepare to pursue a PhD. We've also launched a bridge program for students to pursue a Master of Science degree in computer science. And this is focused on attracting students who are coming from other undergraduate curriculum. So not computer science, not engineering, but a different background to prepare themselves to actually now enter computer science, because it's never too late to redirect and find a passion if you now have an interest in computer science. So these are a couple of ways that we're targeting to how do we improve and expand the diversity of our graduate student body. And we have many other items going on there as well. For faculty recruitment, we continue obviously to follow best practices in attracting the diverse talent to our annual searches, but we've also been very proactive participants in the Provost Faculty Diversity Initiative, which you may or may not be aware of. And I wanted to bring this to everyone's attention of the university's priority to attract great diversity into our faculty body across the university. This is enabling us to, and particularly in Columbia Engineering, to attract top talent to our faculty, even out of cycle of hiring. And we've had some real success this year. And we hope to make some announcements of this new talent joining our faculty body in the coming months. We also have several initiatives in student support and financial aid to support these efforts. There are efforts at our undergraduate level as well as at our graduate level. So I want to just highlight a couple of them. Is that last year on Giving Day, we launched a new endowed scholarship, the James Priest Scholarship, which celebrates and honors the first Black graduate of Columbia, who was a graduate of our School of Mines. If you remember, our engineering school used to be a School of Mines. This scholarship is really specifically for students who have demonstrated leadership in the Black community and really supporting the Black community here at Columbia. We have had incredible rallying around this scholarship from our alumni community, and this is what's done in partnership with our alumni associations. So this really, I think, also built a community spirit around how do we support our students in concrete ways. We're also in the process of launching a Latinx scholarship, and which will also provide further community support, demonstrating the support for our students and the diversity that we attract to Columbia. We also have scholarships for our PhD Bridge program and also for our Bridge to CS program. So we're looking to lower the barriers for our students to attract students to Columbia and to support them while they're here. It's amazing to see how our community, our Columbia community, has really rallied around to support our school, to support our university in this important effort. So I want to express my gratitude to everyone here, to our alumni broadly, for the support of these many initiatives, to supporting our students in so many different ways, through affinity events, through events in general, through internships, through financial aid. There are many different ways our alumni come to support our students and help them be successful going here at Columbia and beyond Columbia going forward once they graduate. Diversity is a core value of our school and of our university. And it's also critical to engineering innovation and our leadership as a university in engineering and in all fields. So I do also invite you to go to our school's website. We do have a diversity, equity, inclusion site that really highlights all that we're doing across the school, from our incredible K-12 outreach efforts in the New York City areas, all the way up through our undergraduates, our graduate students, our faculty, and our staff. And it also gives you ways that you can be engaged in these efforts. So thank you for giving me a moment to share these thoughts with you. And I look forward to the Q&A. Thank you.
Thank you, Dean Boyce, for sharing all the extensive work that is happening at SEAS for our BIPOC communities. So we will now introduce Dean Rosen-Metsch of GS. Dean Rosen-Metsch was a proud 1990 graduate of GS. She is the 9th Dean of the School of General Studies. Previously, she was the chair and Stephen Smith Professor of Socio-Medical Sciences at the Mailman School of Public Health and is an internationally recognized scholar in the prevention of HIV among populations with substance use disorders. For the past 2 decades, Dean Rosen-Metsch research program has been continuously funded by the National Institutes of Health. I think we know what that is these days. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention and the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation. She was one of the early researchers in the era of antiretroviral therapy to articulate the importance of creating prevention primary care programs for people living with HIV, not simply those at risk of infection. She was also part of the multi-site team funded by the CDC that developed and tested the first evidence-based linkage to care intervention for individuals who were newly diagnosed with HIV. Dr. Rosen-Metsch currently focuses on developing innovative strategies to increase the uptake of testing, linkage, retention, and re-engagement in care among vulnerable populations. Her landmark research has resulted in more than 200 peer-reviewed publications and helped shape national policy and intervention programs. Prior to joining the Mailman School, Dr. Rosen-Metsch was professor of epidemiology at the University of Miami's Miller School of Medicine, where she served as director of the Division of Health Services, Research, and Policy, with secondary appointments in the Departments of Medicine and Sociology. As I mentioned, she's a proud GS alumna, having graduated from the Joint Degree Program, the Bliss College of the Jewish Theological Seminary. Thank you for being here. Take it away.
Thank you, Carlos. And I think I last saw you at the Pride Parade, right, in 2019. So here's to getting back to those good times. So it's
and
great.
who would have known 9 months later that?
I know that was our last parade. But thank you to our alumni community and our alumni relation teams across the university for working so hard to bring us together, even if it's virtual this year for reunion. And many congratulations to all those celebrating class anniversaries and to members of our class of 2021 who have just graduated. As a Columbia alumna myself, it is truly a privilege and a joy at these reunions to connect with old friends, make new friends, and to reflect at our time at Columbia and at what Columbia means to us and to the broader world. The opportunity to speak to you this evening briefly about what we're doing at the Columbia School of General Studies and our efforts towards enhancing diversity, equity, and inclusion, and our specific work towards being an anti-racist, multicultural GS is one that I take very seriously. And again, want to note this past year, my heart goes out to any of you on this call and your families who may have lost a loved one to COVID. And really, while we were dealing with the epidemic of COVID, we were really dealing with the epidemic of structural racism in this country, the horrific and violence and murders. And I think this is a really important time for us at Columbia. This is when universities, as President Bollinger always speaks to, are needed more than ever. And GS has been a community that has held these tenets of diversity, equity, inclusion as central to our mission. As we work, those of you who know GS, or if you don't know GS's real mission, it's really to provide access to an elite education to those who sometimes are marginalized by society's structures and policies. Our students are non-traditional, they're non-linear in their trajectories, they're diverse They come from backgrounds not typically found in an Ivy League undergraduate classroom. We could not be more proud that our students are military veterans, their parents, they're community college graduates, they're refugees, they're returning citizens, and they're people who I always say when I speak, make the Columbia undergraduate classroom like no other. And our school at General Studies really provides an access and really addresses educational equity. When we have recommitted over this past year, just like Dean Boyce and soon Provost Boyce spoke tonight at what they did at SEAS and similar to at the college, we also undertook a task force, a DEI task force made up of staff, students, and alumni. And we spent several months really looking at our school and ways that we could do this work more authentically and with greater impact. And I asked the group specifically that we focus on ways that GS could specifically address and try to address the issues of anti-Black racism, xenophobia, all the different areas that we have seen over the last years, and to look at and how we can do things better. Our task force issued their recommendations in January. It's also published on our website. And I just want to talk to you about a couple of things that we've already been able to implement. One is that we wanted to look at how we can get students more involved in STEM, as Dean Boyce said, for our GS students, but particularly we wanted to see how we could get students to be more supported in terms of taking, if they come to Columbia without a strong science and math background and they want to go into pre-med and other science strategies. So we've been able to offer and develop a program that for the summer before people start school, they could take classes and get some more of the strong fundamentals that are going to make them successful in science courses. And I have to say, this was part of our DEI work. The idea was brought forth by one of our students in our post-baccalaureate program. Some other things that we did is we launched targeted outreach by our admissions team, doing some focus groups with community colleges to see how we can attract more, to increase our diversity by attracting more BIPOC applicants. We also were undertaking a full review of our GS Dean of Students Office Bias Response Protocol for students, which can then let us know if there are issues of concern. And we also in our school have done considerable staff trainings. We have run sessions on intercultural fluency, recognizing the role of narrative and language in anti-Blackness, responding to implicit bias, stereotype, and microaggressions. For our new students, GS launched new orientation programming that includes assigned readings on understanding bias and small group breakouts running throughout the first semester and then continuing throughout their time as undergraduate students. We've also enhanced our programming, including new events and workshops like activism and allyship, social justice 101, and responding to race-based trauma. A new initiative that we did and we offered, and this was for all undergraduates, is we implemented this year a Justice and Pandemics Preparedness Academy, again, recognizing the intersection. And we saw right at the beginning of the COVID-19 pandemic that we were having disparate impacts on communities of color. So we had students from all 4 undergraduate colleges come together virtually to really take a deep dive and work with faculty on service and research projects, participate in a weekly journal club, and also have some of our most distinguished scholars across the university to provide the latest updates. We did this in collaboration. We offered again to the 4 schools, and then we did this in collaboration with the Columbia School of Social Work and the Mailman School. And again, I think this was all offered virtually, and it was a way, again, I think across all of our schools, we did events to try to bring people together. And the last thing I will just say is we are beyond excited for the new Columbia University Student Support Initiative that Dean Boyce mentioned, that will target fundraising for financial aid with students. And for us at GS, we've been working with our Board of Visitors, with our alumni board and our larger alumni community to raise money to provide better financial aid and working always towards meeting the full needs of our students. And as part of that, we hope to even deepen further our relationships with local community colleges. We're going to announce and raise money for a New York City Scholars Program. We have another Distinguished Scholars Program that we're working on with the Department of African American and African Diaspora Studies. And we hope, again, that by being able to deepen the way we can offer financial aid at GS, we will also be able to increase our diversity and continue to recruit the most brilliant non-traditional students. So just to say in conclusion, as alumni, we all know how life-changing a Columbia education can be and how deeply the experience shapes our own futures. From its founding, our school has been dedicated to providing access to all that Columbia has to offer students, not traditionally served by elite institutions of higher education. And I am extremely proud and honored to be the dean, and so proud of the way our staff, students, and alumni have responded to this pivotal moment in our history. With all this said, we know there is a lot more work to be done in these areas and addressing racism, Black racism, and other issues. And we continue to work with all the other schools at Columbia to build structures and programs that center the experience and voices of people from all backgrounds, and to really create an inclusive and really beautiful community at Columbia. So thank you for the opportunity to say a few words, and congratulations to all who are celebrating their reunion. Carlos, now you're on mute.
Am I now off mute?
Yeah, you're off mute.
Fabulous. Thank you, Dean Rosenmetsch, for sharing the tremendous work that is happening at General Studies. The last dean is going to speak is Dean Greenidge from Barnard. Dean Leslie Greenidge joined Barnard as Dean of the College in August 2019. As the college's senior Student Affairs Officer, she is responsible for all student services that support the academic mission of the college and enhance student life on campus. She coordinates the collaborative work necessary for a cohesive and coherent student experience, and works with other senior administrative colleagues to plan for the future of the college. Before joining Barnard, Dean Greenidge held positions at Duke University and Davidson College in areas related to student conduct, campus activities, academic access and disability resources, and student health and counseling. Dean Greenidge was born and raised in Brooklyn, New York, and received her BA in Spanish from Davidson College. Dr. Greenidge has an MS in Educational Administration, Student Affairs Administration, Higher Education from Texas A&M University, and a Doctor of Education in Higher Education Leadership and Policy from Vanderbilt. Her doctoral research examined academic advising and student access networks in a small liberal arts environment. So welcome, Dean Greenidge.
Hi, Carlos, and thank you, everybody. Good evening. Carlos, thank you for moderating this really special gathering. I think that we still have time for you to ask us some of the direct questions that were posed to us, so I'll try to keep my remarks brief. I just want to say that I'm really pleased to be here with Deans Valentini, Rosenmetsch, and Boyce. This is really a fantastic occasion and a special opportunity for alumni from across the university. Whether you're part of the Black Alumni Council, the Asian Columbia Alumni Association, Latino Alumni Association, or none of the above. As Carlos mentioned in my intro, I've been at Barnard now for just under 2 years. Given all of the events of the past 15 months, there are days that it feels like I've been here for much longer, but I would say really only in terrific ways, as I've truly had the chance to learn so much about Barnard and the entire university community and just our incredible resilience. I echo something that Dean Boyce said earlier, that this past year has really brought forth ways to come together as a community. You know, at Barnard, we've seen alumni show up in countless ways to support students. I want to thank those of you who are here this evening for many things. One is supporting us as a faculty and staff. I want to thank you for calling us to task. I want to thank you for joining us in creativity and innovation, and also for pushing us to not lose sight of our mission, right? In part, which says that our students graduate prepared to lead lives that are professionally satisfying and successful, personally fulfilling, and enriched by a love of learning. And I think that that's what we strive to do every day. We also talk about our commitment to diversity in our student body and our faculty and staff, and that we prepare our graduates to flourish in different cultural surroundings in this increasingly interconnected world. And that's something that we've really had the opportunity to focus on in these past, certainly in the past year. One initiative that I'm particularly proud of, that I don't know that the questions that were posed will really give me the opportunity to speak about, so I just want to touch on briefly, is Access Barnard. The Vice President for Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion, in partnership with me and my division, launched Access Barnard at the start of the this past academic year. And it's a new vision and approach to supporting students who identify as first gen or low income or international. So it houses 3 offices that used to be separate under one umbrella. And really the purpose is that we are seeking to leverage the resources of the college and the resources of New York City as a whole to support students as they navigate the American higher education system. And I would say many of these students, certainly not all, might also identify as students of color. The support of this program will be tailored to the diversity of identities represented within those 3 populations and allowing them to work more closely together. I'll wrap up just by saying that this has really been an extraordinary year, and one in which there have been so many challenges. However, you know, I think throughout the year, we've all found new ways of coming together. Thank goodness for technology. So tonight's a perfect example of that great accomplishment. I'm going to stop speaking now because, like I said, there were really great questions provided, and maybe we'll have the opportunity to tackle some of those. So Carlos, I'll give it back to you. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you so much for filling us in on the work that's being done at Barnard for BIPOC and underrepresented communities. We want to leave time for all of you to get to know each other. We had 3 previously submitted questions. When one registered for this event, one is able to pose questions. We had 3 questions that we were going to ask, but we're going to pare it down to all of you to each other, which is one of probably the primary reasons you joined us this evening. I will begin by asking Dean Valentini, how can the alumni community help support students as they start to return to campus to begin addressing these matters once again as a community?
Okay, thank you, Carl. Thank you, Carlos, and thank you for that question. I think this is a special case of a general effort that we have in the college. You know, we have the Odyssey Mentoring Program in the college, which it involves all of our students, but I think particularly now with students returning to campus, particularly now some students of color and others returning with particular challenges, it's a very important time for alumni to draw on their own personal experience to help our current students navigate through the world that they have experienced in the past 15 months, and to make a good return to life at the college this fall. So I encourage our alumni to participate in that program. I've talked to many Columbia College students who have been in it, who have felt that it was a really valuable program, and it really draws upon the experience, the understanding, the empathy of alumni to help our students succeed both on campus and also to succeed post graduation. And I think that kind of mentoring is more important now than it ever has been, given the disruptions to all students' lives, but also the specific challenges that students of color have experienced in our absence while we've been absent from campus.
Thank you, Dean Valentini. I participated and have counseled, hopefully given good counseling to a few Columbia College students, and it's been a very gratifying experience. So, Dean Boyce, same question: How can the alumni community at the Fluke Foundation of Engineering and Applied Science help support students as they start to return to campus to begin addressing these matters once again as a community?
Yeah, I would echo a lot of what Jim said. Is it's important for our students to really understand and see the support of our entire community. When we have different events for our students together with alumni, to really to be present, show up, to be there to mentor. Also, as we've talked before, internships, there's different ways our students feel the support and feel the engagement of the community. I also think that that students are coming back from, yes, a challenging time. Some have been here on campus, some have not, so they're going to be re-engaging with each other. But I think if they're coming back, I like to say that I think Columbia, in the city of New York, with our great liberal arts core, with even our engineers taking the liberal arts core, there's a sense of social mindedness and worldliness and wanting to engage about our students. And how do we help capture that? And how can our alumni be part of helping us capture that engagement? And you know, as Lisa talked about her social justice, I call it a design challenge, because that's how we refer to those great interdisciplinary challenges we provide to our students. How do we really help them realize the potential that they want to realize, to be engaged with one another after coming back from a challenging year, which has also changed their mindset, and it's changed the faculty mindset, it's changed the alumni mindset. So how do we capture that energy, and how can our alumni really engage more actively to express your support for our students and for our entire community? So thank you.
Thank you, Dean Boyce. And I'll pose the same question to Dean Rosenhitch from General Studies.
I agree with everything that's already been said by Deans Valentini and Boyce. And I would just add one thing we did this year while we were virtual was we did alumni in conversation. And I know for our students, hearing, we brought alumni who are successful in all kinds of different areas, but many of them also talked very open and honest and candid. Last night we had a reunion event with some Olympians, and they were talking about the challenges, you know, that they face, whether it be mental health or just stress or different areas. And I think that is so helpful for our alumni and our students to be able to really connect. And I think when we come back on campus, you know, we do have a mandate for everyone to be vaccinated, but it's not clear how everybody's going to come back so fast. So even if it's still a little bit virtual, I think more than ever, when our students come back, we need that connection. I mean, and that alumni. So we're really hoping that our alumni will be with us in how we all come back together. And I think we all have to figure this out. So.
And Lisa, on that front, the virtualness has enabled our alumni to engage with our students, even when they can't be here. And as we still navigate out of the virtual world, we're still going to be using some of these virtual connections because they've been quite powerful.
Thank you.
Yes, I'm hoping that we can all get together soon in person and have real conversations instead of pressing the mutes and the and Jane Greenwich.
Yeah, so I'll touch on a few different thoughts I have here. The first is that, my charge to my team will be about increased and intentional engagement with Barnard students in everything we do. It'll be about working collaboratively with colleagues across campus to support students and their development both inside and outside of the classroom. Because the truth is, when we think about everything in this past year, we can make assumptions based on our own lived experiences about where students will be and how they'll be in the aggregate. But I do think that the student experience going into this next academic year, given everything in the past year, may really be an individual journey. So the first thing I'd say about alumni across the university, certainly Barnard alums supporting students, is that I invite you to be a part of that with me and my specific team. I'll touch on also, we have our Division of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion, and we hired an executive director for community engagement and inclusion this past semester. That office is a space that seeks to strengthen and connect and foster this ecosystem of civic and community engagement for Barnard, for community leaders and stakeholders across Harlem and Morningside Heights, and really throughout the city via innovative and authentic engagements. And I think this is another area in which Barnard alums can get plugged in and work with us side by side with our students. And then I'll just touch on two more things. One is that this past August, many of our Barnard alumni will recall that the Office of Alumni Relations launched the Alumni Circles Initiative. And these were events hosted by alumni along with members of our DevAR team that brought students together with alumni from multiple generations in small groups. And it was organized by region, industry, identities that ranged from cultural and ethnic connections to shared activities and passions. And we look forward to continuing those as we go on, as we go forward, right? So this point about we learned that we were able to come together virtually. I think this is a way for alumni, regardless of where they're located in the world, to be connected to and to support our students. And then the last thing I'll say is that the AABC board at Barnard, really challenged themselves this year in a way that I'm particularly proud to brag on. So Amy Beltman, who's the president of that board, has worked consistently throughout the last year to understand what the alumni community needs to be more inclusive. And so they started the process of educating themselves about the thoughtful initiatives at the college to create greater equity and inclusion. And so there are two actions that they undertook. One is that they asked for training to gain greater clarity about what's meant by inclusion and equity. And they, worked with people from our Center for Engaged Pedagogy and DEI to navigate that. And they did that based on advice from others to work on themselves before trumpeting something outwards. I think that's Amy's word, right? And so I think alumni get to hold each other accountable, and you see the AABC board working to that end. The second is just that they're committed to increasing representation at the helm of alumni events. And they're not being prescriptive about what representation means, right? Age, race, gender, sexual identity are some of the places where they recognize they can broaden representation. And so I want to invite our alumni to get plugged in and involved to those ends. It matters for that community, and it matters also for our students to see that modeled. So that's my very not brief answer, Carlos.
That's okay. It's okay. We're very excited to hear what's happening. So this is the end of our program with the deans. I want to thank them profusely for joining us this evening and sharing the work that's happening at all four undergraduate colleges and the interests of the BIPOC community. communities. We always know there's a lot of work to be done, and there will always continue work to be done. There's one thing I learned in CC at the time: human nature doesn't change that much. So we all have to do our part and stay engaged. So now I invite all of you to join one of the breakout rooms, the Black Alumni Council, the Asian Columbia Alumni Association, and the last one I should know since I'm involved is the Latino Alumni Association of Columbia are hosting breakout rooms. So you can join one of them, whichever you prefer. I want to thank all of you for joining us this evening. I also want to put in a plug for continuing to be involved. I've been involved a lot in the last few years with Columbia, and I always get inspired regardless of what kind of events I attend. So, and with that, I'm going to say good night. And I think you all are currently going to be invited to. Yes.
Just saying thank you. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Dean Boyce. Have a good evening.
Okay.
And next time I will have a Columbia background. I promise.
Okay.
Good night. Thank you again, all four.